Ever consider the possibility that being too kindness in retirement is what leads to your demise? Regrets, but the reality is that if you wish to preserve your dignity and tranquility as well as your future, there are some things you have to be unreservedly firm about, even if it makes you appear like a small harsh. This movie is intended for those in their 60s, 70s, or 80s who believe others do the same a lot, and it's beginning to detract their happiness when your children depend on you, family members meddle, and society finds out. Stay silent, it's time for you to change. That showing kindness does not equate to becoming a pushover, and showing love doesn't imply saying nothing when you don't feel correct. The sooner you figure out how to safeguard your time, your energy, and the more self-respect and no apology, the better. Your years of retirement will begin today. We will discuss 7 specific topics. You have to have a bit of ruthlessness. Around 70, not because you've reached resentful, but because you've learnt, and sometimes being wise means saying no, remaining firm and making the decision yourself guilt-free. And let's get started. First and foremost, time protection is one of the things you need to be solid on. First, your time in retirement may seem basic, even self-centered to some, yet if your time will begin if you're not careful. Vanishing and being revealed in fragments to everybody, but you people would think that you're free since you're retired, free to run errands, free to babysit, to take every call without being charged what they require at their convenience, but that's simply a different kind of freedom. You did not sign up for time's schedule. Is more valuable when you're in your 70s and 80s. More than ever, each hour you spend ought to be something you decide, not to something that makes you feel confined. Does not imply that you quit lending a hand to others or saying yes, just indicates that you have a choice with purpose. You don't have to spend time individuals merely because they are relatives or since they've become accustomed to it. If you had a quiet moment, and now someone is upset, mourning to yourself rather than observing racing to the supermarket with their children, or it's not your responsibility to bear their guilt. In terms of psychology, this is about taking back control. When we don't make a conscious decision, how we spend our time can lead to feeling like a background that is invisible personality in another person's life, and at that point, the animosity begins to construct. In order to avoid confrontation, you say yes, but you're silently exhausted and worn out inside. I hope someone would take note of how much of you have given a buddy of yours your life. My 78-year-old Walter used to feel bad about refusing his daughter's requests for him to visit at 3 or 4 several times a week to assist with the grandchildren. Naturally, he adored them, but after a while, when he became aware that he wasn't having fun, he was exhausted now and missed the day he told. He went for a peaceful morning walk. I'll assist twice a week, but, his daughter said, I have the remainder of my time to myself. Something changed. She didn't like it at first, but she eventually came to understand, and Walter began to feel like his life at last. Was he being nasty once more in this situation? Being cold is not implied by context, rather, it signifies being explicit about your boundaries, being honest about what makes you feel full rather than drains you, and, above all, makes you clear regarding the reality that your time, in particular, it's not a free buffet for everyone right now. Something else to steal from the number 2 guard. Financial situation. If there's one area where you have to be firm almost at all times, the purpose of being unwavering is your retirement is not the time to gamble with money. The kind banker for all those who raps on your door, you were employed by decades. That sum of money isn't only since you aren't earning it anymore. Your independence, safety, and also many elderly people lose that because they was unable to speak the very difficult word no. Families are experiencing a silent strain. A grown child requests assistance with rent. A relative is looking for a loan for business. A grandchild is submitting an application to a costly college, and it begins modestly. Fair enough, even, but before you realize it, you've used up more energy than you intended. Not due to your negligence, but due to your thoughtfulness and kindness. It can cost you more to have no boundaries. More than cash, it can cost you your dignity and peace. And the capacity for independent decision-making. Financial abuse is one for a reason. Among the most prevalent forms of elder abuse, frequently, it doesn't even appear to be abuse. Ray, it looks like you could just assist me with this once, or I'll reimburse you the next month, or however, even, you're not using it anyway. The terms you used reveal a decline in your stability. It's not cruel of you to save your money, you're being smart. Recall Marlene 74, a beautiful woman who is full of warmth. She used to say to me that she just wished to assist her children in getting on their feet. She continued to give till the day her roof needed to be repaired and had insufficient money in her emergency reserve. Her children did not disregard her, but they also lacked the resources to assist, and the shame then began to creep in, not towards them in her direction, since she was aware that she ought to have set the boundary earlier. This is your legacy and life. Your lifeline. Avoid being deceived by guilt into believing that refusing someone otherwise, it would be impossible to love those who genuinely care about you. Will comprehend when you establish limits, and whether that says more about them than it does, doesn't it? Happens to you if you continue to watch. Watching this film and discovering these revelations important, kindly provide the second comment below to inform me of your presence, and I suggest you, if you haven't subscribed yet, turn on the bell and subscribe so you keep watching videos. Your assistance is helpful. Us keep producing quality information to educate and motivate you. Then let's go forward. Number 3, stating that unwelcome commitments. One of the greatest retirement liberties that are often neglected include this doesn't require any action on your part to win over someone else. No longer not all invitation, not all favors, weekly errands or family get-togethers demands your instinctive affirmative response, but many older people continue to say yes out of habit. Fearful of disappointing someone or being perceived as self-centered, yet the reality is saying yes when you mean no is among people's greatest regrets. Quietly continue into their 80s and 90s. After being trustworthy for a lifetime, helpful and responsible, yet difficult to step, return and prioritize yourself. But here's retirement is not a time for selfishness. In actuality, it's time for you to appreciate yourself. You're not being, if you say, I'm not up for that, it will be frigid. You're being truthful. That's a many of us didn't learn how to flex our muscles. I once knew a man till it was much too late. 78-year-old Walter, who spent each Saturday taking his daughter's children to sporting events practice. He genuinely cared for them, but you could tell he was exhausted, but he never slept on the weekends and never refused when he informed her he wanted his Saturdays at last. She was taken aback, but she didn't become upset. She genuinely stated, I believed I had no idea you enjoyed it. Obliged. That's what individuals cannot respect your limits if you don't let them know where they are. Safeguarding your energy is an act of kindness, not a betrayal. Knowledge. You don't need to justify yourself to anyone for selecting quiet, tranquilly, or a little time for yourself. You've fulfilled your obligation. You deserve the freedom to choose your now. If someone thinks less of you for at last respecting your boundaries, perhaps they've simply grown too accustomed to it's not you putting yourself last. Love is expected of you, you have a right to it. To choose who you spend your days with. You put your focus into what really you care today, and time is more valuable. After 70, don't waste it on gold. Demonstrating your worth to those who have had more of you than they did already. Never forget to express gratitude. For number 4. Stopping expenditure motivated by guilt. There's a silent trap that many retirees are susceptible to spending money while not wanting to, however, because they feel bad if they don't. Guilt people into purchasing items they would not otherwise select. It persuades parents to continue feeding their children kids who don't actually need it. Encourages grandparents to pay their expenses for travel or continuously check in, not out of happiness but out of a profound fear of appearing frugal or uncaring. But here's what most individuals don't say on a regular basis. Guilt-driven donating gradually depletes more than just your pocketbook. It depletes your feeling of liberty as well. You begin to hold return from your own happiness. You cease making plans going forward. You start to notice your savings that you haven't earned but as something that everyone else is silently observing and figuring out. I once know Helen, a 75-year-old woman who kept helping to rescue her 45-year-old son from debt from her credit card. Well, I can't, no, he's my son, she said, but eventually she began to neglect her own dental care appointments. She ceased attending she enjoyed the gym because, according to her, too costly, but now she didn't understand that each time she made his the way she was stealthily grabbing something from her perspective. Retirement does not imply turning into a human bank, which finally having the time and room to appreciate what if your money isn't what you've worked for giving you tranquilly. Yet it's not being. Generosity is lovely when used properly, but only when it stems from happiness rather than shame. If you continue to view this video, and I hope you find these insights useful, please let me know in the fourth comment below. If you haven't already, you're here. Subscribed, but I advise you to do so. And press the bell to ensure you don't miss it. Any videos, your assistance is helpful to us. Keep producing informative, high-quality articles. And motivate you. Let's proceed now. Saying no to unwanted social interactions is number 5. Responsibilities after retirement. A lot of people suppose you have a lot of free time, therefore they begin phoning church groups, family, neighborhood committees gatherings, pleas for volunteers, and being needed feels good at first, but it can easily become something. Alternatively, a calendar filled with things you never requested and hardly appreciate. This is where generosity is confused with availability. Being retired does not imply that your time is available for grabs. Still belongs to you, and if you accept everything, you'll discover shortly unintentionally rebuilt the same type of tension you believed you had left behind when you quit your job. And I recall Harold, a neighbor, 78, who once said yes to each church and potluck cleanup crew event. I don't want to let anyone down, he would say, but he began to skip his morning strolls. He was unable to eventually his ability to read as he once did. The doctor advised him to reduce not on beverages or food, but on duties. Here's the reality: you don't must defend your time to others. If you would like to spend the entire afternoon in sitting near the window or in the garden, it's not selfish to have coffee in your hand. That's retirement for self-preservation. Is your time not a second shift? Life as you see fit when you safeguard your tranquility, safeguard your well-being, and let others get used to your enthusiasm and your excitement. The new you, the one who establishes limits. Number 6, protecting with love, not guilt your personal financial situation. Money is one of the simplest methods to lose tranquility in retirement, particularly as others begin considering your money as a common resource, family asset. It could begin with a little a. This child is a little short. Month. A grandchild requests assistance with tuition, or a brother or sister who inquires, "You don't, do you mind?" However, over time, your generosity can become a source of expectation. I know it's difficult, particularly when it's individuals you care about, but here's what I've repeatedly observed: retirees who stealthily deplete their funds to cover wants of others just to discover oneself lacking in essential healthcare, living expenses, or even burial expenses later, and no one recalls how it all happened. Begun. Aside from you, nothing is incorrect with assistance, but assistance need to originate from overflow that doesn't come from your base. Worked for this your entire life. Pension, savings, and equity in your house. It's your money, not your family's. Safety net. Your liberty. You don't have to owe someone a detailed analysis of accounts, and you are not required to respond to each question regarding how much you have saved or the amount that remains in your fund. When someone asks in a way that makes your uneasiness, is already a sign. Stronger limits are necessary when you put a clear boundary around your money. You're acting wisely, not cruelly. You're ensuring that the one who looked after everyone else, including those years, you don't get ignored. In the conclusion, if you are still viewing this, watching the video, and discovering these insights important, kindly leave a comment at number 6 below to inform me of your presence. And if you, I suggest you, if you haven't subscribed yet, turn on the bell and subscribe so you keep watching videos. Your assistance is helpful. Us keep producing quality information to educate and motivate you. Then let's go. The 7th forward is unwilling to. I'm sorry for requesting peace. One of the most challenging aspects of retiring aren't the quietness, is how other people respond to it. Anticipate that you will remain available to say yes to everything in order to be there at every event, to listen, offer assistance, smile, and never resist. But what if you simply want tranquility? But what if the drama, the noise, never-ending demands that no longer meet the life you desire? And somewhere we were instructed that it is selfish to say no, because moving away from the cacophony entails we may be aloof or frigid, but that's not. It's true that choosing peace requires strength. It need guts to declare, "This is what I need immediately, but I don't have to tell someone about it." You're not present to serve as everyone's banker and therapist, backup plan, or babysitter. You're not in order to serve as the emotional puddle that absorbs the burden of all others' challenges. You've had enough life to recognize that pleasing others frequently comes at the price of your well-being, sleep, and your dignity at 70, 75, or 80 years old possess the whole right to defend the stamina to spend your mornings in solitude, to terminate a call early in order to avoid dinner. You are not in the mood to read a book. Go for a stroll or just relax with your ideas without being distracted or condemned, and if someone attempts to force you to feel bad about it, but don't let them feel guilty for desiring serenity. In actuality, the more you age, the more you understand that peace is a necessity, not a luxury. How do you maintain your health and kindness? You remain alive by doing more than just breathing. Being harsh like this isn't harshness at all, rather, it's the silent courage of returning to your own life, and there's nothing about that final is regrettable. Ideas many believe that retirement is the when you quit working, you will reach the finish line. Life gets easier and softer, yet the reality retirement has unique obstacles. And if you don't exercise caution, you'll wind up living for everyone else but yourself. Therefore, a little cruelty isn't about causing harm to others, it's about at last advocating for oneself. It is about drawing circles around the time, your money, your heart, and your tranquility in order that the remainder of your life is spent with dignity rather than exhaustion. Of these 7 boundaries resonated with you the most? Are you familiar with one place more than others? Let's be a little more straightforward now. Thank you for being a bit more protective. Joining us today would be greatly appreciated. You share one and leave a remark underneath. Anything you discovered today and your planning strategy to apply it in your daily life. Your ideas are vital to us, so please don't hesitate to share them after reading your remarks. Us a lot of inspiration and support. If you found and liked this video useful, kindly like, subscribe, and share. Your assistance enables us to keep producing excellent material to educate and motivate you. We appreciate you viewing, and we look forward to I hope to see you in the upcoming video.